Reaching complete and absolute peace of mind was not my goal, it just happened. Up until that time, I only saw a glimpse of it completely by accident. The glimpse took place as I was reclining on a lawn chair outside of an acquaintance's mobile home near Disney World. I had taken a bike ride from Miami to Orlando, and when I arrived no one was home. As I sat and waited for someone to arrive, I closed my eyes and began to listen to a single cricket. It became quite clear and loud in my mind as I listened to and heard every vibration. I listened so intently and had no thoughts of my own, that in an instant I became aware that I could no longer feel my body, and that I had indeed not had a thought of my own from the moment I decided to actually hear the sounds of the cricket. My entire being was now only the vibrations, which I could see. At this point, I realized I was indeed having an out-of-body experience, being fully awake and aware of where I was. Two thoughts crossed my mind. Is it possible to get even closer to the sound and not have to return to the physical? And how do I return to my body? I decided to shake my left arm, a strange sensation to say the least. I opened my eyes and sat up, completely dumbfounded over what had just happened. It was about 3 years later, before I remembered this event had ever happened. The reason this event came back to me is because it happened again. Seated in a recliner at home listening to music, the same circumstances and sensations occurred, and, at that moment I flashed back to my encounter with the cricket. This realization snapped me out of it instantly with a head full of thoughts. How did I do this? Could I do this at will? And can I teach others to achieve this state of mind? It was quite a surprise to me that I had forgotten all about that cricket. Let alone that it was a cricket near Disney World. What a great sensation. So I decided to take some time and figure out if I could develop a step-by-step way to repeat the sensation. I also wanted to know exactly what part of my body was the last I could feel. Answering all of these questions did make it a little more difficult to return to this state. Your own thoughts make it more difficult to disconnect, but I persisted until the following events took place. Reclining with the music on, trying to hear every note, I let my body settle to its lowest point, actually feeling dropping sensations, wave after wave. Letting my eyes settle to a position which seemed to let them float independent of my senses. The sealing of my mouth, with all air slightly sucked out and with the tongue filling the space behind closed teeth, making sure my entire body was in a comfortable position without any pulling or extra pressure or tension. This included folds in the skin as well as hair. At this stage, any readjustment was fine. After several minutes of settling, readjusting and relaxing my nervous system, it was very important to remain wide awake, being sure to listen and hear every vibration of the music. The goal was to put the body to sleep and awaken the mind. My first attempt to achieve disconnect while recalling all of the steps made it more difficult. But I persisted, only to realize so many things had to take place in order to do it just right. First of all, twitches and facial muscles had to be the first to cease. Emotions or reactions to sound must not reflect in the face. Next is the awareness of your entire body as a whole. If you are aware of motion in the nervous system, then concentrate on a part of the body which has completely settled and not moved since the start. Generally it is the feet, or perhaps a hand, in which you can no longer feel fingers touching fingers. Let this area spread, realizing how much of your body you actually cannot sense, but be aware of the fact that these portions are on their way to spreading. During this phase of the process, continue to hear the music and all of its vibrations as you take inventory of your physical being. Once comfortable, feeling or being aware that sound and thought are not located or emanating from the region of the head and face, the sensation is that the entire physical being is the receptor of thought and sound. It seems awareness of thought and sound can be moved anywhere within the confines of your physical being. Perhaps the most difficult task is to not become aware of your breathing and expanding chest. During my first attempt, I tried every breathing pattern, long slow deep breaths, short shallow breaths and any other combination I could think of, until I fell into a rhythm that worked. I simply did not become overly focused on it. By this point you will become aware of sensations you've never experienced. Know you are on your way, but never stop listening to and hearing the music, delving ever deeper into all of the separate sounds and vibrations which make it up, and the fact that you are truly hearing them all at once. You might even wonder, why hasn't anyone ever told me about this? Just one hint: if you ever have to swallow, for any reason, before or after reaching this point, stop and try over at a later time. It's an action of the physical which cannot be overcome during an attempt. Then it began to happen, the moment I had been searching for, the moment of disconnection and the knowledge of which part of my body I would last be connected with. Without warning, the feeling was like a very tight rubber band stretched over the top of my head, behind my ears and under my jaw. This area began to move forward with ever-increasing speed, as though the rubber band were going to slip off the front of my face. That is exactly what happened. When it reached the point that an actual rubber band would have snapped off of my face, it did. But it didn't just snap off my face. The sensation of it leaving was physical, past and beyond my face. I heard a loud snap, with the intensity of a bullwhip cracking, and saw a brilliant spark at a point just in front of the bridge of my nose. How freaking incredible this was! I had now separated my consciousness from its physical self. I was now only the music I was listening to. But listening is not exactly how someone in this state would classify it. You have to be there to appreciate it. In the simplest of terms, I was seeing and feeling it, in all of its splendor and detail. In detail which would make the virtual reality of today's most sophisticated computers seem like a black and white television showing of the Lone Ranger. I was able to reach this state reclining in a chair or flat on my back in bed within 20 minutes. But this ability was only there for a few weeks, because peace of mind had slipped away due to circumstances surrounding me. I was informed that business was slow. My company could not support me full-time, and I had 2 weeks to train someone to replace me part-time. During this 2-week period, attempts to return to the higher plane were fruitless. And acceptance of this reality helped ease my mind, so I was going to return to the place I had been before. I had tried every position before this last attempt with no success. So this time I was going to do my best to create the perfect circumstances for success. I spread a sheet on the daybed in the living room, making sure to lay it flat, as well as myself naked. It took a moment or two to make sure there were no wrinkles on the sheet under me, nor tugs on my skin or hair. The music was on, Dark Side of the Moon. All was going exceptionally well, step by step, and then it happened. The disconnect was about to take place, the rubber band effect started. But, at the moment I expected to hear the snap and see the spark, there was a great flash of brilliant light, and I was now viewing a sheet of the purest, brilliant white light I have ever seen, where I knew my body should be. The realization that I was viewing it, not from within, but completely detached from it, did not shock or surprise me. In that instant I knew what had happened. I had separated my consciousness from my body and was now viewing my spirit. My point of view was from a point 45 degrees and about a yard from my forehead, slightly above my face and past the top of my head. I knew where my consciousness was and where my spirit was, but I had no sense of where my body actually was. Without hesitation and for some unknown reason I began to think about my left knee. Much to my surprise, a black hole or void of light developed in this sheet of light, just where my knee should be. As soon as I stopped thinking about my knee, it immediately shrank and became brilliant again. I seemed to have all of the answers and knowledge surrounding the reason for my existence and the purpose of my life. At that moment, knowing I had somehow tapped into universal knowledge, I began to shake my left arm, finding myself sitting up. Now, my only regret was that I had been so intent on viewing my spirit that I had neglected to look up and around to see what else was out there and perhaps seeing who might be viewing me in this state. With a sense of heightened awareness and one thought in mind: create a universal language. So I did.